In the aftermath of the failed assassination attempt against Donald Trump, one of the stories that's been increasingly told is that pointing out the threats posed by Trump incites violence against Trump. Now, this doesn't make any sense. It's absolutely ridiculous. But one of the arguments we heard made by Trump's defenders after the failed assassination attempt was, they tried to kill him because of these claims that Trump is a threat to democracy, or that Trump is a threat to the media, or that Trump is a threat to institutions. Of course, this ignored that they was one Republican. Let's put that aside just for a moment here. But this idea that not only does it incite violence against Trump to suggest this guy is a threat in a number of different ways, but also that it's not true, is very much undercut every single week by the things Donald Trump says and does. And we have another example. Trump was so triggered and distraught by the way that Kamala Harris made him look, quite frankly, incompetent and almost like he's having a cognitive issue and can't think when she goes, your rallies have people leaving. He goes, they're eating dogs and cats. What? Trump was so triggered by it that he wants ABC News shut down because he lost the debate. Trump has been demanding that ABC News be shut down because of what he says was their bias during the debate. Now, I want to remind you, you can make the argument that debate moderators should or shouldn't fact check. You can make the argument that there should be some kind of screening, I don't know, for who gets to moderate. But understand that the fact checking that these moderators did was with regard to only very basic things. Like, for example, Trump saying he won the 2020 election. And the moderator said, you didn't win, Joe Biden won. That's called bias, goes to the absurd expectation that Trump and his supporters have about how these debates should be run. But let's put that aside for a moment. Donald Trump wants ABC to have their license taken away because he doesn't like how the debate went.
What's your reaction to why didn't the moderators correct her?
Because they're dishonest, and because I think ABC took a big hit last night. I mean, to be honest, they're a news organization. They have to be licensed to do it. They ought to take away their license for the way they did that.
They ought. When David Muir said, you didn't win the 2020 election, Trump considers that such a travesty of journalism that ABC News should be pulled off the air. When Lindsay Davis said, there is currently no state that allows post-birth abortion, Trump believes that's such aggressive wrongdoing that ABC News should be pulled off the air, their license taken away, and everybody who works for ABC News should lose their jobs. This is part of why he shouldn't be president. This is the contempt for the free press that we've been warning people about. Not that we needed more data to issue that warning. We saw what happened during his first term with regard to a free press. And Trump has been threatening to take other media outlets off the air. He's talked about how MSNBC, which he refers to as MSDNC, may not be allowed to have a license if he's president again. So it's not just, going back to what I talked about at the top of this segment, it's not just that pointing out, hey, this guy's contempt for institutions, a free press, and democracy are a real problem. It's not just that that's not inciting violence against Trump. It's just telling things as they are. It's that it's absolutely true, and we must talk about it. We must talk about it. Imagine if Kamala Harris said, hey, I don't know that Newsmax should be allowed to be on the air. I just don't know. I'm not sure. If I were president, I would create a team to review whether Newsmax should be on the air. It would be 24/7 news on right-wing media. Hannity would do a special emergency thing on it. Patrick Bet-David would do a so-called emergency podcast about it. They would all be saying this is a threat and an encroachment upon a free press. And Trump regularly says, ABC should lose their license because I lost the debate. MSNBC should lose their license because they, whatever, don't love me or whatever the case may be. If anything, we need to be talking more about the threat to a free press that Donald Trump represents. Many of us have bad habits we want to kick. Finding motivation can be hard, especially when life gets heavy and the bad habit seems to be what's keeping you sane. Thankfully, Fume is here to help you prioritize your health in a way that will not disrupt your daily life. Introducing Fume's award-winning flavored air device that is quickly becoming the leading alternative to smoking and to vaping. The point of Fume is to satisfy the hand-to-mouth fixation of some of these bad habits, which makes healthy change feel even easier. The Fume device is sleek, it's sophisticated, you can fidget with it. There is no nicotine here, only natural ingredients like plant extracts and oils. There's no electronics, there's no vapor. There is an amazing selection of flavors, from the popular crisp mint to the adventurous black licorice and cinnamon hearts. Fume is delicious, it's subtle, you can keep using it without feeling overwhelmed. So start your journey today. Go to tryfume.com and use the code PACMAN to get a free gift with your journey pack, which includes a Fume device, 3 core flavors of your choice, and a cleaning kit. If you are struggling to get rid of that bad habit, try Fume. The link is in the description.